Welcome to another episode of AM Whiskey. I'm Aaron, and this is Mark. And today we got a little special treat. As you probably have heard and seen floating around WhiskeyTube, Old Forester came out with a new component to its Whiskey Row series, the 1924. And we were lucky enough to get a sample thanks to a subscriber. So we're going to take a look at 1924.
Excellent. So 1924 is going to eventually become part of the Heritage series. It's a homage to, what was going on in the country back in the 1920s. The U.S. had prohibition going on. 200 different distilleries in Kentucky alone ended up having to close. Old Forester was one of the 6 distilleries that was able to obtain licensing to stay in operation. They then were able to acquire or purchase a bunch of the barrels from, those distilleries that were closing, ended up bottling it all and packaging it up and selling it as Old Forester product. This is a 10-year, 100 proof Old Forester product.
Yeah, but it's a different mash bill than it was
is.
before, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a hair different than the traditional Old Forester mash bill. It's 79% corn, 11% rye, and 10% malted barley. So real close to the traditional Old Forester mash bill, but just a smidge different when it comes to the corn, rye. I think malted barley is about the same.
Little higher corn, little lower rye.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, it's the same mash bill as Early Times and King of Kentucky, which is really what got me hankering to try this because you hear those are some pretty nice bottles that have that same mash bill. And of course, getting a 10-year age statement on an Old Forester seems like something we should get going here.
It's got a very unique nose, at least for an Old Forester product. It smells like Old Forester.
Yeah, I can get the Old Forester profile. Me, I'm getting a lot of sweet oak right up front. And then there's you get just that hint of banana, but it's kind of hidden behind kind of a creaminess, like a vanilla ice cream. This to me smells like a kind of a banana split that's sitting in an oak bowl that, just a little light on the bananas. But it smells good.
When I'm not too deep into the glass, I get like if you were to smoke a creme brulee, like you put it on your smoker and you just smoke the creme brulee just a little bit, like there's a smokiness that's kind of covering up the.
Now I kind of want to try smoking a creme brulee.
Yeah. I mean, it really does that. And when I really shove my nose too far in, the smokiness kind of really covers it up. But yeah, that's kind of what I get out of it.
Interesting. All right, well, let's get it on the palate.
It flips. At least for me, it flipped. Like I get the creme brulee up front, and it lasts a good little while, and then it starts transitioning into the wood spice backing and finish.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the sweetness up front. I get a little bit of that kind of creamy vanilla. Not getting as much, and even though it was a muted banana note on the nose, not getting any of that on the palate. And then once it hits my mid to back palate, I just get that kind of sweet wood spice. It's going down there with maybe a hint of white pepper.
Yeah,
I didn't get that the first time, but that's
there's
maybe like a hint.
I agree. There's a pepper that rides with the wood on the finish, and the finish is medium. I mean, she's probably got a 30+ second finish to her. It goes.
She does have a decent finish. Man, that kind of just creaminess is really. I think the more I'm going back to this, the more I'm liking. Now, uh, the subscriber who was kind enough to give me the sample of this said that he found it to be kind of comparable to the concoction known as 1915.
Huh, I haven't made that blend in years.
Really?
Huh.
It seems like we might have a glass right here of 1915. For those of you who don't know, 1915 is a 50-50 blend of 1910 and 1920. So we threw a little of that together and we'll see how it compares to the 1924.
This is so much sweeter on the nose.
See, I'm getting darker notes on the nose here.
I get more brown sugar.
Yeah, I'm getting like the caramel brown sugar. I'm still getting a little bit of that banana.
Yeah, it's a touch. On the palate, this is way sweeter up front, but then the double barrel of the 1910 and the proof of the 1920 just I'm not getting a wood, but there's like a spice that carries.
There's a little funk to it that I'm having trouble placing. Yeah, I think there's probably a tad more rye spice on this one. I'm not getting the oak characteristic that I got on the 1924, which, I mean, the 1910 is double oaked. I don't think the 1924 or the 1920 is. But, 10 years in the barrel, I'm getting more of that oak on the 1924. It's got a nice sweetness to it. Again, it's those darker, the brown sugar, like kind of caramel. A little bit of that rye spice, but there's like an underlying funk to this that,
yeah,
I don't know if funk's the right word, but it's just different. Now,
it's not distinguishable, right? Whatever that is in the middle that's going on as it transitions, to me, it's not distinguishable.
Yeah. Now, the 1924 is MSRP around $115. So these bottles are both about $60. So you want to make a 1915, you're going to pay about the same that you're going to pay for this bottle. Do you have a preference? If you're going to spend that money, would you rather go for the 24 or the 1915?
Even though you get twice as much whiskey here, the 1924 drinks complex. It drinks complete. It's better than 1915. That line of oak and there's just a maturity about the 1924 that I like a whole lot better.
I agree.
Than the 1915.
I agree. I think the 1924 is head and shoulders above the 1915. So if I'm gonna give $120 to Old Forester line, I'd rather go with the 1924 than the 1915. Again, I think both of these are great pours by themselves for $60. Both really good pours. I like the 1924 better than either of these two. But again, you're punching above your weight class. And speaking of that, the 1924 is a 10-year age-stated whiskey.
It is.
And it's $120. Not a lot of the 10 years that you're going to find around are that price range. You got, your Eagle Rares, $45. You got your Russell's Reserve 10-year. We had to pour both of those earlier. I think we both think the 1924 is better than either of those.
Oh yeah.
$80 better. That's for you to decide. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. But I think we did want to compare it to the 110 year that probably is in the same price range. Yeah. And it's not a complete apples to apples comparison because it's a different mash bill. It's a wheater, but the Rebel 10 year Single barrel weeded bourbon, but it's right around $100, so it's kind of in the same price range. Same age statement, so we thought this might be a interesting comparison. See what we think. I think we both have fairly high opinion of the Rebel 10.
I like it. It's one of my favorite weeders. I don't ever bat an eye at buying a Rebel 10 for $100. In fact, it's so rare to find it in the store. Every time I see it, it's $100. I buy one. And what's really weird is, for the last few years, every time I see a Rebel 10 in the store, it's the same barrel date for some reason. I want to say that I bought 3 or 4 bottles over the last 2 or 3 years, and they're all the same dump date on them.
I don't know. Maybe Lux Row has a specific date that they dump all their.
It was the same year. The Rebel 10 is more comparable from a complexity standpoint on the palate. The nose isn't nearly as good, in my opinion. And what's funny is there's even less spice on the Rebel, which makes sense being
It's a
a
weeder.
weeder.
Yeah, it's much softer.
Mm-hmm.
Still got a little bit more of that oak.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy drinking. But I gotta say, I think if I had to choose between the two, I'd go with the 1924.
I would too. For $100 or $120, I'd buy the 1924 over a Rebel 10. Yep.
Well, there you have it. That's our review and comparison of Old Forester 1924. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to like, comment. We'd really appreciate the subscription. Really helps out the channel. Help us try and grow in 2024.
And keep the whiskey flowing.
Have a great night.